Your Honor, subject to the admission of the defense exhibits, we would rest.
All right. All right, we're going to adjourn for the day, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back here at 9 a.m. Monday morning. Is that correct, Mr. Stano, Mr. McAleese?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. We will see you.
All right, you just heard it. The defense rests. They're adjourned until Monday morning. I want to bring in our own Court TV legal correspondent, Chanley Painter, who's been live in Ohio. We just heard this defense wrap up its case. Tell us, I know you've been in the courtroom, what are some key standout moments for you today?
Great to be with you, Judge Ashley. It was a short day, but this jury arriving attentive all afternoon for two witnesses, the final witnesses, as we just heard, from the defense case. In total, over 3 days, they called 7 witnesses in their case in chief, 4 of whom were mental health experts, as we just watched. So they began the day with another mental health expert there on behalf of Sidney Powell, reaching the conclusions that she did not appreciate the wrongfulness of her actions at the time that she bludgeoned her mother, Brenda Powell, in March of 2020. And he also talks about meeting with her over the course of several hours. He talks about the risk factors were just completely absent in the particular case of Sidney Powell, that she was a rare case that he has studied. And he talks more about how she just didn't meet this usual stereotypes or definitions as you would think of someone who was suffering from undiagnosed schizophrenia. Let's watch.
In most cases where there are allegations of mental state at the time of the offense, somebody will have a long history of psychosis. They will have hospitalizations in their background. They will have significant trauma in their childhoods. They will have histories of violence and non-adherence with treatment plans and things like that that are more symbolic or that go hand in hand more frequently with these kinds of situations. In this case, all of that seems to be absent. And so that was very interesting to me. By all accounts, this family was an intact family, a very close and loving family, and so this is an atypical case.
The defense was also able to inquire of this expert about Sidney's behavior that we hear from prosecutors that in their estimation was kind of normal teenage activity. She was able to go to a sorority function the night before the attack on her mother, texting her dad and other friends as if it was normal. And in his estimation, that is a telltale sign that someone can have a psychotic episode and kind of switch back and forth, that the symptoms do come and go. And it's kind of her last-ditch effort to maintain some sense of normalcy in her life, according to this expert, leading up, again, to the murder of her mother. The last witness for the defense was the treating psychiatrist of Sidney Powell, and he testified via Zoom shortly this afternoon, and he talks about the medications he prescribed to Sidney and how she was reacting well to those medications. He talks about some of those symptoms. Let's take a quick listen.
And then that stabilized. She had some post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, specifically nightmares, and she was, there were intrusive experiencing of seeing her mother bloody and deceased.
He goes on to say that he didn't believe that Sidney, as all 4 experts for the prosecution, or for the defense, have testified that she was not malingering or making up these symptoms or exaggerating or lying about her symptoms that she did experience even after taking this medication. Also, finally, just Judge Ashley, barely any, if at all, cross-examination from prosecutors today.
Yeah, I definitely noticed lack of cross-examination. A lot say that that's the right thing to do because there wasn't a lot you could do to discredit some of these experts. Chanley, the other thing I have to say, it's not always the case that we see defendants with this much family support. To your point, they believe her, it was insanity, but they're all there supporting her. Tell us, what is next in this trial?
Yeah, well, we expect Sidney and her family, as they walk here, arrive together, sit in the courtroom. I couldn't even find a seat today when I got in because it was packed in the gallery of friends and family of Sidney Powell there to support her. Inside the courtroom, we expect them to show up again on Monday, maybe. They showed up for her defense case, but they did show up for the prosecution's case, and on Monday we are expecting the prosecutors to call their rebuttal expert, a doctor who, as you can imagine, will disagree with the estimations of the defense's experts and try to tell this jury that she believes Sidney Powell knew right from wrong at the time of the murder. So that's expected Monday, and then we will go into closing arguments in the afternoon Monday here, and then this will be in the hands of the jury. Judge Ashley, as you know, if convicted, she faces 15 up to life behind bars. If found not guilty by reason of insanity, that may be a different type of story. There would be another hearing for the judge to determine what would be the least restrictive alternative or avenue for her placement from then on out. But her life is on the line, and she's going to be here Monday to maybe find out. Maybe we'll go into Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, absolutely. And we know the third option is she could be acquitted. She admits she does it. I don't think that's a likely possibility, but theoretically it is one. Thank you so much, as always, Chanley Painter, for all your great reporting there live in Ohio. And I want to bring in, still joining me this hour, criminal defense attorney Bob Mata. Bob, let's start with the fact that Chanley just shared the state is going to bring an expert in rebuttal. What trial strategy-wise, let's talk insider baseball for our viewers, why would you call, if you're the prosecution, the expert in rebuttal versus having them testify in your case in chief to tell the jury up front whatever they tell you is wrong?
The simplest way to put it is you get the last word. You know, you always want to have the last word, and it's very effective. Oftentimes, we're dealing with, typically, especially with respect to experts, their best expert in rebuttal. Because they know, I mean, that is going to be what the jury is left with. It's going to be the last witness that they hear. You know, the defense is done after their case in chief is over. So, I mean, strategically, it's a no-brainer as to why they do it. And that's, you know, always to get the last word.
Yep, and I think this is a no-brainer, but I can't help but ask, because we know earlier today we did hear Sidney Powell electing not to testify. Of course, generally we know defendants are told by counsel, we do not advise you to testify. In this case, is it any different? When she's claiming insanity, she's on medication, she stabbed her mother. Do you agree with the decision?
I do, you know, because it's such a heartbreaking case. It really is. I'm sitting here looking at this kid, and man, it's like, and the family's just gone through so much. And I just, you know, but the thing that you're wondering, all right, you're wondering, is the jury just sitting here looking at her and thinking, well, she's acting completely normal right now, you know? And that's why I think that the last witness was so critical. Because that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, is she still being treated? Is she still being prescribed antipsychotics? And the answer to both those questions were yes. On top of the malingering, like every single expert that's testified has completely shot down the concept of malingering. So, you know, to me, that was crucial, because you know the jury is just sitting there like, well, she's completely normal. Like I don't know. That is always the disconnect with these insanity defense. Like, people cannot grasp the concept that somebody isn't acting insane all the time. You know, there is just this disconnect with people being able to understand there are going to be periods of time where people are cogent and coherent, and there are going to be times when people are just have a psychotic split and they are not able to control anything they're doing or saying. I mean, I have personal experience with somebody who was diagnosed schizophrenic, and it is real. It just is. And I think that people that have people in their family or friends that have experienced true mental illness, I think that they'll be able to appreciate that this kind of thing actually can happen. And in this case, I really believe that it did.
Wow. And not only that, but there is treatment. We know she's acting that way because of the medications. The problem is, at least what I've been told and heard from experts, is the medications can start them feeling in ways they don't like, and they choose to go off it. And of course, if you go off the medications, then you may have some of those symptoms we're discussing. One last question for you. Do you think it makes a difference at all that she killed her mother versus a random stranger at some event that she didn't know?
Oh, man, what a question. See, that's what I'm talking about. You always ask the best questions. I think for the jury, I think that it does, you know, but like the question is which way does it swing? You know what I'm saying? Like if she was just out on the street and just snapped and just killed a complete stranger, you're immediately thinking, well, what's the motive? You know, I mean, like, so for that particular circumstance, maybe it's worse that she killed her own mother, because immediately that's what the jury's thinking is why did she kill her mom? And when it's of someone who's a relative or an incredibly close relative like her mother, they're going to think that there was a reason, there was a motive behind it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're talking about a complete stranger or some random person, there exists no motive, and it seems more plausible that, wow, yeah, man, she just had a mental break completely. Whereas with mom, you know, as the state has tried to show, you know, this was something that you know, she was planning. She tried to conceal it. You know, those types of arguments are easier made when there could be an argument that she had a reason, at least in the state's estimation, as to why she would have done it.
And Bob, this is why I love having you on, because I agree with you that it is hard to know which way it plays to the jury, but I think it does make a difference. I too can't decide which side it would make a person come down on.
Yeah.
Horrific to think you kill someone who loved you so much that you were best friends with. But on the other hand, do you want to think a person's out there doing this to a random stranger that any one of us rather could be a victim of? I don't know. We're gonna have to see what this jury decides.